welcome to Jenna Henderson's senior presentation. Thank you for coming. My name is Barb Brown, and I'm the librarian here at Christopher Dock. Several items of business. First of all, obviously, cell phones. I know you've also put them on silence or vibrator, so that's great, vibrate. Also, there are reports coming around in the front and in the back, and if you could sign those as they come by you, so that's a record for Jenna to have of who is in attendance, because I don't think she's going to look up much from her speech. That's what she just told me, so maybe she will. Jenna and I both attend Grace Mennonite Church. I've had the opportunity to watch her grow from being an infant. Yes, I've known her her entire life. So I've watched her grow from being an infant to this wonderful young lady. How did that happen? Now, I don't wonder how she became a wonderful young lady. That's not a mystery. I mean, she has loving parents and extended family, a loving church, good friends, and a solid faith in God. The mystery is that it happened, and I'm not a day older than when she was born. Yeah. Anyway, I promised her I would make my introduction short so that she would have an opportunity to share with you her journey over the past 4 years. Jenna.
Math was never an enjoyable class. Most people don't enjoy having homework every night and working on problems over We did a lot in my class, which distracted us from learning. This is also when I became closer to Kirsten because we weren't all that close in middle school. Kirsten, you have been there for me every day for the past 4 years. Aside from your constant sarcasm, you are one of the sweetest girls I know. From telling the Applebee's waitress it was Evan Trogger's birthday, to attempting to help you out when you walk through the hallway. You have literally had the best time any friends could have, and I'm going to miss you so much next year. For my first year of high school, I was privileged to be a band member. It turned out that band just wasn't for me. I enjoyed being in the band at Penview, but realized that there were so many other things I could be doing during activity period. I dreaded Tuesdays and Thursdays and was so excited when the 30-minute period came to an end. Luckily, I had a few friends with me, Damaris, Drew, and Colton, who made what felt like 2-hour period go more quickly. Freshman year ended, and so did my band career. This year caused me to think a lot more about what I was created to do. Christ died for you, for me, and for everyone else on this earth, and I was beginning to realize that upon coming to die. Having chapel 3 times a week was special, and I enjoyed having the chance to take a break from it all and concentrate on the Lord. Doc changed the way I thought of God and being a Christian, but a major thing that truly made me think about my life as a whole was my youth group. The minute Sunday night was over, I looked forward to the next Sunday night. I loved youth group and felt like I could get away from it all when I was with these people. Andrew, Janine, Emily, Kevin, Caitlin, Ben, Adam, and Jen. You guys made my life so much better and helped me to become the person that I am today. But none of it would have been even possible without our leaders, Sherry, Darrell, Brian, and Alicia. You all have been so helpful and caring over the years. You were the ones that kept me going and made me realize that life does go on after one hard time, and that Christ will always be there when I need him most. You four have been a major reason for the way I have turned out. You have showed me the true meaning of church family. Sherry and Alicia, I'm going to miss our Wednesday morning breakfast at 6:34 a.m. with Emily so much. The summer of sophomore year began with a bang, and I was privileged to take a trip to Kentucky with my youth group to Camp Henderson. We helped to paint a woman's house, we took down a tree, and we straightened up the camp. This trip changed the way that I acted with the youth. I was no longer the scared, nervous girl, but the giggly and outgoing girl. I realized that these people were my second family, and I didn't need to be worried about what they thought because they loved me no matter what. Before the summer was over, I started preseason. I decided this year that I would go out for the volleyball team. I was only on JV because it was my first year of playing, but I fell in love with the game. I felt like I was fairly good at it, and I enjoyed the feeling of being on a team again, like when I played softball and soccer in my earlier years. I loved playing with Alyssa, Damaris, Kayla, Jill, Megan, and Abby, and even though we lost nearly every game, I still enjoyed playing. I have heard in the past that sophomore year is known as the forgotten year, and for me, that rang true. During this year, I had no electives, only classes like chemistry, geometry, and American Lit honors. It is the one year that I can say with complete honesty that I don't remember much. Luckily, I was able to pick a class for activity period this year, so I chose yearbook. I enjoyed feeling like I had something to do with the way the yearbook turned out, and that people would be looking at that book for the rest of their lives because of my help. Most of the time, Marissa, Jill, and I would go out to take pictures, and we would, but we took our backpacks with us, so then we didn't have to go all the way back when we went to lunch early. It was a solid plan. Unfortunately, that ended because Mrs. McTavish started to tell us personally how we need to come back before the bell. It was a good try. Finally, the time had come when I had the chance to try out for the touring choir. Ever since I was young and had to be drugged to all of my sister's concerts, I had dreamed of the chance when I would be in the choir. The tryout day came, and I had the whole thing practically memorized and was ready to perfect my tryout. I walked out of Mr. G's room feeling proud and accomplished. Friday came, and the list was to be posted during ninth period. I went out to look at it on the door of Mrs. Histon's room, ran my finger up and down the list of soprano names a few times and didn't see my name. I thought I'd look at the alto list. Maybe he thought my name was more alto-ish, or my voice was more alto-ish. It wasn't there either. I was devastated. The dream that I had been hoping for the past 7 years was over in that short amount of time. I went home and cried it off to my mother, thought about how even if I did make it my senior year, I wouldn't have the privilege of going to Europe, and realized that maybe I wasn't a singer and I had been fooling myself for all of these years. On Monday morning, I decided that I would go to Mr. Durstein just to ask what I could work on so that I could make it for the next year. He proceeded to look at me in a very confused way and said, "You aren't on the list? Oh, you were supposed to be." And then he chuckled and told me he would fix it. Just as he said, I went to look at the list my next period, and what do you know, there was my name right below a list of all my future choir mates. The whole weekend was spent crying over something that was just a mix-up, but it was worth it in the end. Church has always been Grace Mennonite has been such a blessing over the years. Our congregation is rather small, so the closeness we have is something that can't be experienced by many churches. I have been supported so much by Pastor Mark, Jay, Phyllis, and the rest of my church family, and that is something I will always cherish. It is a place that I feel comfortable and safe, and I want to thank everyone who has ever had anything to do with that. This summer with my church, I went to convention, which was in Pittsburgh. I felt like I needed to treasure every moment of this week because it was the last event as a big group, and I did. Experiencing so many people in one room, all worshiping God and praising His name was really fulfilling. It made me realize who I was living for and why I was on this earth. For me, the week turned out exactly how I imagined it would, and I went home on fire for Jesus Christ. I went back to school in the fall with the same passion and love for God and wanted to share this with everyone. Junior year was here and I was finally an upperclassman. It was hard to think about my exciting year though because Andrew Scott was leaving for a mission trip to Paraguay. He has been a part of my life for so long. He drove me to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and also to youth groups, and I felt like I could tell him anything. I didn't know what I was going to do without him. Luckily, I still had Emily to get me through, who was like a spitting image of her brother, but in girl form. We have always been close, but this year really made our friendship grow, and I felt like she was the new person I could tell everything to. Andrew and I seemed to switch spots because now I was driving Emily everywhere. MC, I can't begin to imagine what the past 2 years would have been like without you. You are such a beautiful, talented, and smart person, and I think sometimes you don't realize that about yourself. I don't know what I will do without you next year, but I'll be sure to come home and visit as much as possible. I can't wait to see you in a beautiful banquet dress, a long annoying choir robe, and a green graduation cap. You are like a sister to me, and I love you so much. I started off this year with photography class. Photography is one of my passions and something that I hope I will be able to get to later in my life. I love the feeling of being able to capture a whole scene with the click of a button. Just like any other artist, I love the feeling of knowing that I am in control of how the photo comes out. Photography class was one of my favorite classes at Doc. I enjoyed having a class where the sole purpose was to take pictures, edit them, and display them. Mr. Swartz was so encouraging with me and seemed to really enjoy my work and what I could capture. Near the middle of this year, I went through a bit of a slump. I didn't want to do anything or learn anything and had little motivation to work. I changed lunch tables during this time, which I know is very uncalled for, but this completely changed the way I felt about school and life. We sat together at lunch, hung out outside of school, and almost lived our entire lives together. I loved each and every one of them so much, and don't even know what I would do if they didn't come into my life. Jeff, Caitlin, Kirsten, Emily, Joanna, Robin, and Jared, you all put so much joy into my life at that time, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of best friends. I enjoyed English the most this year. We read books like A Thousand Splendid Suns and The Kite Runner. These two books were extremely encouraging for me. They both ended with hopefulness, and at that specific time in my life, they were exactly what I needed. World Literature Honors had to have been one of my favorite English classes over the years. One activity that I fondly remember was when Mrs. McTavish told us to start with the sentence, "You ask what it is that I love," and go from there. Some of the things I wrote were, I love the smell of the spring air blowing through my open window. I love rolling my windows down and blasting the country music in the car. I love any hot beverage. I love salvation. I love the way every morning without fail, my daddy will kiss me goodbye and whisper, "Love you, honey." Daddy, you are so strong. You have been there for me through it all and always have wise words to share. Even when I don't act like it or tell you, love you so much. You have done so much for me and I couldn't have asked for anyone better as my father. I hope one day I can find someone just as special and strong as you are because you are definitely one of a kind, Jim Bob. I'll never ask anyone else to fix anything that is broken because Daddy thinks I love you. Volleyball class was during my second quarter, and this was something else that seemed to get me out of my slump. This class consisted of Dan Carr, Robbie Johnson, Colton Young, Damaris Newman, Robin Lee, and Joanna Bennett. We had such a fun time from Dan and Robbie acting as sports commentators during their off games in some weird accent, or just being completely crazy. It was a wild class, and I was sad to see it come to an end. Social issues with my two best friends, Joanna and Kirsten, along with some others like James, Brianna, Chris, Evan, Jess, Shay, and Katie. I did my speech on human trafficking, which really gave me a new perspective on the things going on in the world. The trip was bittersweet. It was raining the whole time, which caused us all to be drenched and cold by the end of the day, but it was worth it. We had a great time seeing all the sights of Washington, D.C., and just spending time with each other. As you may already know, when Joanna, Kirsten, and I are together, crazy things happen. We had a fun weekend full of Starbucks with Mr. King and playing baseball inside with a rolled-up ringing throughout the building was something that can't be copied at any church around here. Don't get me wrong, I was having the time of my life, but soon into the trip, I felt extremely homesick. On about the 5th or 6th day of traveling, I was able to call my dad. I don't remember who was gracious enough to let me use their phone, but somehow I got the connection back to the U.S., and I was able to talk to my mom and dad for a short amount of time. Talking to them just took away all of the nerves, and I felt like I could truly have a good time. Europe was fantastic, and I constantly take the time to look back at all the pictures and reminisce. July was finally the month that Andrew was coming home. Andrew and his family were coming to the beach after his year abroad, and the one night we persuaded Aunt Margie to go to Luigi's. She and Uncle Paul do not like Italian food very much, but somehow we got them there because that was where the plan was to go down. We sat down, and a few minutes later Andrew came out, the same Andrew I knew from a year ago, but with long curly locks, and was wearing an apron when he said, "Welcome to Luigi's, everyone. Can I take your order?" and looked at Aunt Margie. She looked at him right in the eye and told him that she would like lasagna. About 5 seconds went by, and she didn't notice anything, so he said, "Will that be all, Aunt Marge?" And that is when the waterworks started. Just from that event, Andrew, you can tell how much you are loved. You have been like a big brother to me for all of our lives. You are such a leader, and I can't wait till we are attending the same college next year. So senior year was here. Where did the time go? Physics was definitely a struggle, but I made my way through it. I had some C's in that class, but I would tell my parents that it was a weighted class, so technically it's a B. But we realized that that's actually true. But physics just didn't make sense to me, and I went in for help. I tried to listen in class, I did the homework, but it just didn't make sense in my mind. The only thing that kept me somewhat motivated throughout the year was my table group. We never changed seats, so our group, Robbie, Andrew, Kang, Kirsten, and I became extremely close. Unfortunately, we got in trouble for talking quite a few times, but I will miss our silly, disruptive group in my future physics classes. Just kidding, there will be none of those. This was the first year where I enjoyed my gym classes. Gym was always that one class that horrified me, because the idea of running 4 laps around a huge track was terrifying. I wasn't a runner, nor did I enjoy being the last one to finish the mile run, but for badminton and volleyball, we didn't have to run the mile. I had badminton first quarter and volleyball second quarter, and for both classes I had Kirsten, Diana, and Adrian with me. We would get extremely competitive during each game, and it would be so funny to see all of us, who aren't very athletic, try to smack a birdie to the ground. Faith Walk turned out to be exactly like what everyone before had said, life-changing. Hearing the stories and secrets of every one of my peers was something that can't happen at other schools. Arranging our desks into a circle every day just brought us together as a group. We were timid at the beginning, but by the end of the quarter, we were all so upset to see the class end. Mr. Weeds really had a way of making the class run smoothly and calmed all our nerves about speaking out loud to the group. For some odd reason, I decided to go out for bowling my senior year. Kirsten and I tried out, and unfortunately, only one of us made it. Me. I wasn't as excited when she got cut, but I was glad. Stuck with it because I learned a new game that I can keep with me as I grow older. I also was able to gain new friendships, like Melissa. You're a quiet girl with a hidden crazy side, and you're such a sweetheart. I will miss you next year, and I'll miss coming to Tuesday night small group. I hope your senior year is wonderful. Near the middle of this year, on January 25th, my first nephew was born. He came at the perfect time in my life, and even though he can't talk or really do anything yet except suck on his fingers and roll over, his smile makes me smile, and I couldn't have imagined this year without him. I see him looking more and more like his daddy every day. Henry. It's hard to believe that you have been in our family since I was a little chub ball in 4th grade. We have connected so well together over the years. I always remember that one time on the boardwalk when we saw a certain someone who I didn't want to see, so you were my bodyguard and you made sure I was hidden as we walked by. You are so special to me, and I'm so glad my sister found such an amazing man to live her life with. Banquet this year was a whirlwind, to say the least. We first took pictures at a friend's house and were excited to get more with friends in school. That idea came to a quick halt, literally, when we got in a car accident on our way there. This put a damper on our day, but we kept our chins up and made it just in time for the start of the procession. I had such a crazy but fun day, and I'm so glad I got to share it with you, Chris. This year wouldn't have been as easy to get through without Mr. Gabachian. Through all of the stress, turmoil, and drama of the school hallways, his office was the place I could go and feel settled and calm. He helped me with so many things and seemed to have an answer for everything. Mr. K, you have been so helpful this year, and I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm having a bad day next year and can't come to your office to relax. Thanks so much for the apple you let me eat that one day. care about him, and my life slowly got farther and farther from Christ. Lately, I have come to realize that God has been involved in my life all year. Bad things have happened only to make the way for better things. I have hardly given him any minute of any day, but he is still there and helping me through it. Lifelong friends are the best, Shannon and Bernie. We have known each other since we were 4. You two came back into my life at such a perfect time. I am so happy I didn't chicken out that one summer night when you, Shannon, asked me to come to Bryn's house to swim, because I almost did. We have been so close ever since, and I can't believe we ever grew apart. I can tell you guys anything, and I'm so happy for our friendship. I can't wait for all of our adventures this summer. This past year and the 3 years before that would have been so difficult without my girls here at Dock. You all have been the best friends anyone could ever ask for, and I couldn't have made it through these last couple weeks of school without you. We have laughed together, cried together, and created some sick rhythms together. Sorry to everyone around us in the cafeteria during our jam sessions. Brianna, Adrian, Joanna, Kirsten, Maris, and Alyssa, thank you guys for everything. Aunt Beth and Uncle Brent, thank you both for everything you do for me. I am so glad that we are so close, and I appreciate you. Hopefully we can get together this summer to eat a great dinner and watch all the Criminal Minds we want. Aunt Margie and Uncle Paul, you have been there for me through it all. You support me so much, and I can always count on you when I need someone. You are like my other set of parents, and I couldn't be more appreciative of all you do for me. I love our annual short trips and can't wait for July to come around. Maybe this summer I can come and sleep over before I head off to college, like old times. Jillian, this year has been so much easier because I've had you in it, and it showed me how much we have in common and how similar we are. You are and will always be my #1 role model in life. You are so caring and considerate to everyone around you, and I strive to be like that one day. I love being able to go to you with anything, and love the closeness we have had this year. Seeing the closeness Aunt Margie and Mom share gives me a glimpse of our future. I know I don't always act like it, and we never talk about it, but no matter what, I love you so much and think so highly of you. You aren't only my sister, but my friend, and I couldn't ask for a better best friend. I cannot wait for this summer together full of shopping, tanning, and dumping. Mommy, the time has finally come to thank you in my senior speech. I don't know where to start. You have been the only thing that has kept me going over this past year. You truly are the most kind, gentle, and loving person I think may have ever entered this world, and I can't even begin to imagine living life without you. Sometimes you ask me if I would ever want another mom, one that is cooler and more hip. You may be asking me in a joking way, but that is probably the dumbest thing you could ever say. Never in a million years would I ask for someone else because you are the coolest mom there is. You know me inside and out, and you live to make me happy. Even though I don't act like it nearly as much as I should, I appreciate each and everything you do for me, and I couldn't have made it through all 18 years of my life so far without you. You are amazing, and I love you. As my graduation day is slowly becoming more of a reality, I couldn't have asked for a better school community and have loved each and every one of you who have had some kind of impact in my life. Next year, following my successful senior experience of shadowing some English teachers, I will be heading to Cairn University to study secondary education. And I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow, not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. No power in the sky above or in the earth below, indeed nothing in all of creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Christ Jesus our Lord. Thank you.
Better. Why aren't I? No, why are you?
She loves it, you know, about the cry. I don't cry. I don't cry. She was great.